Hello there everybody, Dragonfire here. Welcome to another one of my videos. What we got for you today is we've got the top 10 albums of 1985. Now I began this series of going through top 10 albums for each year of the 1980s. I began it last year uh, doing 1980, then I did 81, 82, 83, and 84. So I did the first 5 years of the 80s, but I did 84 earlier this year. I kind of um, lost out, or I didn't go at the point where I could have gotten it out on time, the 84 video, in 2024 for the 40th anniversary, but I didn't quite make the deadline on that. But now it's uh, 2025 and I'm doing 1985, so 40 years ago. 40 years ago. Gonna hit this on the 40th anniversary. So let's start off our top 10 list. So coming in at number 10, we've got Aerosmith and their album Done with Mirrors. Aerosmith Done with Mirrors. I don't have a physical copy of this one, but anything Aerosmith put out in the 80s is fine with me. Don't have a lot to point out about this one, but it's some good uh, mid 80s Aerosmith. They haven't quite hit their peak with this one yet. I believe the next one after this, because they didn't put out an album in 86 that I remember, but in 87 they come back with Permanent Vacation. Very good album. But anyway, Done with Mirrors is still 80s Aerosmith. Uh, give, Check it out. It's one of their lesser known albums. Now, last year in 84, I talked about the debut from Bon Jovi. My number 9 for 1985 is going to be the second album from Bon Jovi. The first album was self titled. It's Bon Jovi. The second album from 1985, 7800 Degrees Fahrenheit. I don't have a physical copy of this one, but I do own the album with the legal electronic download. Um, and it's a pretty decent album. They hadn't quite hit their stride yet, but it's still very decent, good album. So check that one out. They would really hit their stride with their next album, Slippery When Wet. But 7800 Degrees is still one worth checking out. Next up would be Standing on the Edge from Cheap Trick. That gets my number 8. And I have a copy of it here. Here it is. Standing on the Edge from Cheap Trick. Yes, Cheap Trick from 1985. Trip, Cheap Trick, always a good band, very consistent. So you're always going to get some good stuff with them. This may be one of their lesser known albums, but it's still worth listening to. All right, that's number 8 for Cheap Trick. Number 7 is Dokken. I don't have a physical copy of this one either, but Dokken is coming out in 1985 with their album Under Lock and Key. Um, yeah, good stuff here from Dokken. Uh, they are rocking. You're always rocking when you're with Dokken, rocking with Dokken. So check out Under Lock and Key from Dokken. And then my number 6 is going to be AC/DC's Fly on the Wall. Another one that I don't have a physical copy of, but man, you can't go wrong with AC/DC, especially their 70s and 80s material. Uh, Even their 90s material is really good. I just think all of AC/DC is good. They're a band that never really dropped off. They're very consistent, even up until their final album, which I believe came out in like 2020. So, yeah, AC/DC, um, it's got some good stuff. Okay, let's get into my top 5. These are ones that I had to own physical copies of. So here is Afterburner. They had huge success with Eliminator in 1983, I believe it was, and many people would take Eliminator as the best ZZ Top album. But this one is still really rocking. This one's got Rough Boy on it. I think that was the biggest hit off of this album. It's a little different style of song. It's not exactly in the same vein as like Cheap Sunglasses or Legs or Sharp Dressed Man. It's got Rough Boy has a little bit different style to it. It's a little slower, a little bluesier, but it was a hit, and you did hear it. You will hear it on the radio occasionally. I think even still till this day, sometimes you'll hear Rough Boy by ZZ Top. Um, Planet of Women is one that I really enjoy on this one. There's also Velcro Fly. Here's the song listing if you want to see it there. Pretty solid album from ZZ Top. All right. Now, my number 4. I'm going with Motley Crue, Theater of Pain. Motley Crue's Theater of Pain. Um, 80s Motley Crue. You just can't go wrong with 80s Motley Crue. Love 80s Motley Crue. Smoking in the Boys' Room is a cover, but it was a hit song off of this. And then there was, what else was on here? Oh, Home Sweet Home. Home Sweet Home was the big ballad on this one. One of Motley Crue's most famous songs for sure. But Fight for Your Rights, I enjoy on this one. Keep your eyes, Keep Your Eye on the Money is pretty good. Yeah, this is not a bad album. I love 80s Motley Crue, so check out Theater of Pain. All right, for my number 3, I'm giving it to Rat, Invasion of Your Privacy. Rat, Invasion of Your Privacy. Fantastic album here, as all of Rat's stuff is. I mean, especially 80s Rat. You're in Love, Lay It Down. Those might be my 2 favorite songs on this one. Dangerous but Worth the Risk is also really good on this. Um, yeah, fantastic, fantastic album by Rat. Invasion of Your Privacy from 1985. Check out the song list there. Okay, for my number 2, I went with George Thorogood and the Destroyers. Maverick. Yes, Maverick for number 2. Right here. Check out these songs. You got Gear Jammer, I Drink Alone, Willie and the Hand Jive. Yeah. The song Maverick, the title track on the album. It has some really cool stuff on here, so check out George Thorogood and the Destroyers, Maverick. Okay, before I get to my number 1, I want to remind everyone to like, share, subscribe. Yeah, it really helps my channel out. Subscribe, leave a comment in the comment section, all that good stuff, because it really helps out my channel here. If you enjoyed this video and others like it, check out my series, right? I'm going all the way through the 80s here. Yeah, starting the second half of the 80s here with 1985. We have my number 1 yet to come, but I want to throw in a few honorable mentions. Kiss had an album called Asylum. Tom Petty had Southern Accents. Twisted Sister, Come Out and Play. Y&T, Down for the Count. And David Lee Roth, Crazy from the Heat. That one might have made my top 10, but I decided not to do an EP because that one is an EP, but it's still a pretty neat little basically like half an album from David Lee Roth. All right, my number one for 1985 is going to be Weird Al Yankovic. This is Dare to Be Stupid. It's upside down. Dare to Be Stupid. Wait, this way, that way, that way, that way. It just looks weird in my reflection here. Yes, Weird Al Yankovic. Dare to Be Stupid. This one has like a sergeant. Of course, the title track, Dare to Be Stupid. I Want a New Duck is a parody of Huey Lewis in the News, I Want a New Drug. Uh, he does the theme song for George of the Jungle cartoon TV show on this one. He's got Hooked on Polkas. Yeah. This is a really, really fun album. And with most of the other stuff, I thought 85 was a little bit of a weaker year. It's got good stuff. It's got Aerosmith. It's got Rat. It's got Motley Crue. But even though they have good albums from all of those artists, George Thorogood and Destroyers is another one, good albums, I didn't feel like any of the albums from any of those other artists were great albums. And so I think I'm going to go with Weird Al Yankovic as my number one for 1985 just because I love it. You know, he's a good musician, totally underrated. Definitely my favorite accordion player, and just an underrated comedian. He does some good stuff. So I'm giving my number one to Weird Al Yankovic. Again, there's good albums from a lot of bands that I really enjoy, but I didn't feel like they were great albums from those bands I enjoy. So I'm going with Weird Al Yankovic for my number one. All right, let me know what you pick for 1985. Dragonfire out.